All right, today, Mr. asked the other day asked me a question of why I liked modern over vintage, and this video was just kind of responding to his question. He does watch my videos that I post at his mother's, and at the time he asked me, I just didn't have time to really explain to him. We were in the middle of something, and so this is kind of like a response video. So I have a modern sci-fi and a vintage sci-fi here, kind of explaining what I like about modern. And honestly, there's things about vintage that I like better. And just going to show here. I'm gonna try to make this quick. So this is the modern sci-fi here, and I like his weapons. I mean, I wish it was black like the vintage one there. There we go, focus. I wish it was black like this one, but I do like how they got a little more detail on the, like a little more like battle damage. I like how this one's helmet can come off, and he does come with two helmets. I do like the head sculpts on these a little bit better. They're a little more. It looks more like detailed on the face. Now this particular sci-fi, he cannot look up and down. I don't know why they did it that way, but they did it that way. And he came with a full mask helmet like that. And to me, this looks more like too much like Halo ODST. And this looks very like his vintage counterpart there. On the pant legs, you can see little like wrinkles. You can see wrinkles on his chest. It just a little more detail, on the gun. It looks good. The backpack looks pretty good too. He does have a little bit of the same, the swivel arm, but the moderns, you can actually move their wrists. And this one has I believe it's up and down. Yeah, he's got an up and down motion on his wrist. Even though it's hindered by his shirt, but he's got an up and down. So, yeah, hopefully that comes out. And it's a little easier for them to double hold their guns. One thing I don't like about the moderns is if I can flip this up here, you'll see a chest cut. And I don't like that at all. And like on him, it's okay because it's covered. But on somebody like Bazooka, it really cuts into the detail, because like the 1 and the 4 that Bazooka has on his chest is like cut in half. And if you have him turn, the one's like just all split up, and it looks terrible. And I do wish that they would have put like a ball joint or something right here instead of making them up here, moving around up here. I wish they had made it like down here, like on the originals. Now I do like how they have double jointed knees. It does, it can get a little more detail out of them. I do like the modern has where you can articulate the feet. And that's one thing I like about the moderns, is there's more detail, there's more maneuverability, there's a little more forgiveness in the hands. The hands are a little softer, so you have, like, when you're putting weapons and stuff in their hands, they have a little more forgiveness on them. Because the originals were bad about breaking the thumbs. They were bad about breaking thumbs all the time. And if I can get him to hold his weapon like I had him on the shelf, well, I'll worry about that later. Just get the best you can. And but they still use the same tubing and stuff like they used on the original, which doesn't bother me a bit. I like that. And one thing I like is how they come with figure stands. Sorry, this one's a little dusty. But they have his name on there on the front. They have his affiliation, which is G.I. Joe. Cobra has the Cobra symbol on theirs. And I do like how they have the double foot pegs on these, because it makes them a little more sturdy when they're sitting on the shelf. They have little pegs on the bottom, just like their vintage did, but these So not all of them had a dull foot peg. Now, oh, I forgot to show another thing I didn't like about the moderns is if you look under their chin. Let's see what's a good angle. If you look under their chins, it's hard. I don't know if it'll pick up or not. Yeah. If you look up underneath their chin, there's like a cutoff, like straight. It's just chin and a straight cutoff, and I don't like that. I wish they didn't do that. I wish they had kept it on the original ball jointed heads, and I do wish they had that still. Because I mean, you don't have the heads look a little more normal, or they don't have that cut underneath them there. And it's a little more flow, a little better flow. And I mean, they can look around, they can look up and down. They had the same, same motion, swivel arm. The only thing they couldn't do is they couldn't turn their wrists. I wish they would have made it where they could turn their wrist, because I like, you can't really make these guys double hold their weapons very well. Let's see, here's the comparison of their guns here. See what I mean? Like the modern is a little more detailed. The vintage, I mean, it doesn't look terrible. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't look terrible, but taking these things in and out of their hands, it's hard to see on here, but they tend to flake a little bit. But it doesn't really damage or make it look terrible. But see, they do have a little bit of like the clothes, where you can see the clothes are a little bit wrinkled there. But if you look at the modern, I'm gonna just pop him off his stand. He keeps falling off. If you look at the modern, there's a lot more wrinkles in his shirts. It looks like a shirt, and I mean, it just looks better to me. And I do like on the originals how they just get this out of the way. I do like the articulation right here better. I do wish they had stuck with that. I didn't really like the O-ring, I'll be honest. I didn't like how the O-rings break and you have to fix them all the time. And then on the originals, you had to be careful with figure stands. They didn't come with figure stands. You would have to buy like battle packs in order to get the stands. And I believe they call them battle stands, I want to say. Anyway, you put it in their feet, and then like all this back half would crack and fall off, and so you gotta be really careful. And you can't just ram them in there. You have to be careful. And one thing is, about these is that the modern figures don't sit as well as the classics. Like these, I mean, look how well they sit. Like they sit so well. This is the modern. They don't sit very well at all. I mean, look how far away the legs spread apart. I mean, it just, and then like when you put it there, the legs are like real close together. It was just they sit together so much easier, or they sit down so much easier. The legs stick together, and I like that. I do, because again, I'm more of a modern collector. But if they don't make a modern equivalent of a character, I do but purchased the original. But I got an original Sci-Fi because Sci-Fi is one of my favorites. He's always been one of my favorites, and he's always going to be one of them. My absolute favorite is always going to be Low Light, though, because he's just the best. And I like Low Light. I really like Low Light. I don't know. I like his character. I even made my own my own character to be. I was long shot. That's what I was. I was long shot, and I was a sniper. And they often in my world, me and Lowlight would get sent off on missions, sniping missions, and I was Lowlight's spotter. Lowlight was the shooter, and I was the spotter, and we were a team, and just stuff like that. It was just I just made up my own story and stuff like that, and that's what was so cool about G.I. Joe is that you could do that, and then you could also custom your own figures and stuff. I never partaked in any of that, just because I like figures to be the way they came. I didn't want to buy a bunch of figures just to custom some figures. And because if a figure's not complete to me, or if it's missing one little tiny thing, it drives me nuts. That's just how I am. And but this is what I like. I like modern. You get a little more detail. I wish they would have gotten rid of. I'm not a big fan of this right here. I think it's a bit much. Maybe like shorten it up a little bit. I think they made it so long for the leg articulation, but I think they could have shortened it up to that much. Instead of being that, you just kind of clip those two together, and I think that would have still been given enough for articulation. No, don't get me wrong, it's not terrible looking. It looks okay, but yeah, it looks all right. But it's just not how I would have done it. But again, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, I would have made it to where they could move on the lower part there, on the moderns. But the moderns are a little bit taller than the vintage. They're a little bit taller, and they don't make a whole lot of modern vehicles, and so modern will fit in some vintage vehicles, not a whole lot. And like I bought the Slam, and I plan on putting the new Crazy Legs and a green shirt in it, but they were too big. They were just way too tall for that, and so I wound up having to. I had all the hardballs accessories, because sometimes when I'm trying to complete one figure, I'll wind up having to buy like a ton of accessory packs, or somebody that's selling a ton of accessories, that's what I mean. And I had all the hardball stuff. I had his little cannon and I had his backpack, but I didn't have a hardball. And a friend of mine was selling a hardball, but it had a broken crotch, but he was selling it for a decent price. And then I found somebody else that was selling an unbroken crotch piece for hardball at a decent price. And I wound up spending a total of like at most $14. And I did buy a stand for him too. I bought one of these stands for him. So with everything together, with the figure, the unbroken crotch, and a stand, under $14, you can't beat that. That's great. And then I had a Charbroil that was missing. He was only missing his helmet, and he was missing that little hose for his flamethrower. And I found him online. I found him on eBay for a pretty decent price. I went ahead and got it. So I got Hardball and Charbroil inside of the Slam. I mean, what a combination! But that's who I got in there. That's who I wanted in there. That's who I got in there. And I do have a few vintage. I do have Skid Mark, and I got the modern Skid Mark, and then because I bought the Desert Fox, and when I bought the Desert Fox, it came with the Skid Mark. So I put the modern Skid Mark is called Tread Mark, and so I put him in there, and I put Skid Mark up to the side, and then I got a modern dial tone, but I have a vintage dial tone. The only thing he's missing is his gun. And I found one on eBay for like $8, and I plan on getting that soon. So I'll have a complete original dial tone, because he's in my top 10. I really like dial tone. But I plan on keeping some vintage figures, just for that reason of, if a modern figure won't fit in a vintage vehicle that I want, I got vintage figures I can just put in there. Who else? I got a bunch. I got Backblast. Of course, I got him in the Radar Rat, and I bought him specifically to put in the Radar Rat because he was on the front cover of it. And then I got a Modern Hardball, but he's a Slaughter's Marauders Hardball, and he was a convention exclusive from what I understand. But I got him in the RPV, and so I was like, well, I was gonna put the hardball that I got in the RPV, but I said, you know what, this modern hardball sits in there just fine, so I put hardball inside that slam. Why not? And then who else? I do have a Wild Bill. I got vintage and modern Wild Bill, and then I got I got a Astro Viper pretty recently, but I got a vintage Astro Viper because I can't find a modern equivalent. So I saw him in a store and he was complete. And they were asking a fair price, so I went ahead and got him. So just is I do collect vintage and I do collect modern. It just depends on if they make a modern equivalent of the figure, I'm gonna get them. Some of them are quite pricey on the aftermarket. Like I have Sergeant Slaughter. I have the convention exclusive Sergeant Slaughter, and I have him in his Triple T, and that's my picture. That's my profile picture, and it's the vintage Triple T with a modern Sergeant Slaughter in it, and he fits in there no problem. So I have that, and then I have I have the Killer Whale, and I got the modern Cutter in there, and I got the modern Cutter, and I got a green shirt, and then I have I forget what version of Shipwreck it was, but he's got a life vest. But anyway, so yeah, I collect a little bit of both, and then I do have some Spy Troops. I do have some Valor versus Venom stuff, and I got Spy Troops Mirage. And he was a Mega Marine back in, I want to say 93, somewhere in there. He had Play-Doh, and but yeah, like I prefer the modern because of the stands. They come to stands with their names on it, and again, like I was, if sometimes I look at these characters and my older mind just cannot remember their name, and so I'm like, who is that? So with their name being on there, I could look at their stand, like, oh yeah, that's Sci-Fi. Now there's some of them I don't have any problem remembering, but there's some of them that I'm like, what was his name? What was his name? So I'll just, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't calling you Kitty. So that's it. That's it. So I do have like they do have some modern vehicles, just not as much as I'd like, and I want to get I want to get a Mudbuster. I know a lot of people would probably think that's silly, but I want a Mudbuster, and I want the name of that one eludes me right now. It's the one it's battered out. Cat, I'm gonna have to get you down. I'm sorry, you're in my face. But I forget the name of it. Anyway, and then I want to get that. I do want to get that Mega Marines APC. I want to get that. That thing was really cool. I like how you can drop the little missile down in there, and then you crank it like you're actually loading it, like a rifle. That's really cool. So, but anyway, I was trying to think of Flak Viper earlier. I got a Flak Viper recently. It just hit me. Anyway. So that's what I like about vintage and what I like about modern. Again, they both have their good points and they both have their strong points. I do like these. These are what I played with when I was a kid. I mean, these are what I played with. It triggers the nostalgia. But I like these because of the articulations. However, I do believe these to be a little more sturdy than these. Like the little pinpoints, the little pins they have holding all this stuff together. Man, when I was a kid, I would have broken them things all to pieces. And these held up really good because I don't know if it shows up here, but they had little metal rivets in them. they had little metal rivets in their knees, and their little knee rings were a lot thicker, and you know, I didn't like how they were held together by an O-ring. I wish they would have used something else. I mean, for the time I understand, but I do wish they would have used something else. And because when I was a kid, I didn't know that you can replace the O-ring. Nobody had told me, and so I couldn't tell you. Like, I'd be playing with them, and all of a sudden it would snap in half, and I didn't know how to fix it. My dad didn't know how to fix it, so I wound up just giving them away, or giving them all to Goodwill. Just put them in a big bag and give it to Goodwill, because I didn't have the heart to throw them away. So there's no telling what I just threw out or what I just gave away when I could have fixed it, you know. And you know, I always kick myself thinking about that. I'm like, how much stuff did I give away because I didn't know that you can replace the O-ring in them? I mean, I didn't even know what an O-ring was back then, you know. I didn't understand. And there's a lot of the core figures that I got rid of because the O-rings broke, but there's still quite a few. I don't have any G.I. Joes left over from when I was a kid. I have none. I have a bunch of Star Wars and a bunch of Star Trek stuff that made it, but of course Star Wars didn't come back out until, the plastic ones that I have didn't come out until like 94, 95. And I was 10 and 11. I didn't play as rough as I did when I was younger. I didn't play that stuff as rough as I did when I was like 5 or 6, 7. I took a little more care of them, and they made it, and plus they didn't have O-ring stuff. But I did lose a lot of their weapons, and you can find their weapons now on eBay for like stupid cheap. So it's not that bad to try to get them all back to 100% complete. But yeah, so. And again, not many friends played with G.I. Joes. I had a couple that liked G.I. Joe that I hung out with, whatever you want to say. And but I didn't see them that often. They were like an hour and a half away. That, like, my parents knew them from work or something, you know, and like I'd go hang out with them. And one of them had the space shuttle complex, and that was the coolest thing. And I always wanted it, but I never could find it. And then but there was Star Wars stuff out that I wanted more, you know. So and knowing what I know now, I wish I could go back in time and like, hey, I want that, you know. And I remember one time being at a yard sale and finding the USS Flag that, I couldn't tell if it was complete or not, but that's when I remember seeing the flag for the first time. And I wanted it, but I think I wound up getting the Phantom instead. And the Phantom was missing stuff. The glass was broke. I mean, it was just, it was just something I never saw before. So I wanted it, and I got it, and I played with it for a while, and then I wound up giving it to. I wound up just putting it in a Goodwill pile because it was broken, and I didn't think anything of it. Now, like, again, I wish I can go back in time and be like, hey, but when I got rid of it, eBay did exist, like in the later 90s, and I could have got on there and completed it and had one that was, but I do have a new Phantom that I had to buy complete, and it was expensive. Anyway, I'm ranting. So, but yep, this is what I like and dislike about modern and vintage. Again, there's things that I like better. There's things that I like, things that I don't like. And like their thumbs, like, that's one thing about the vintage is if you're not careful, you can break their thumbs really easily. And in the modern, their thumbs are a little more flexible, and so you can put a little more force on them. But you put too much force on the vintage, and I mean, there's some vintage figures that you can't even get them to hold their weapons, because if you put too much force on there, that thumb's just going to snap right off. And you can fix them. I mean, you can buy a figure that, or you can buy just the arm and replace it, but I prefer not to have to do that. I don't want to break anything, so But this one I got him, and I let him ride inside the Havoc and under the glass because a modern figure couldn't fit in that glass canopy part. The modern figure just can't fit in there; it's too big. So I'll put the vintage sci-fi in there, but I do have a modern cross country driving it. I do have the vintage cross country, but I have a modern cross country. Is the one I put him as on the driver's seat, and if you fold his legs up enough, he can fit on there. He is a little big for it, but he fits. So he fits good enough. So you have to, that's where those double knees come into play. You can double jointed knees. I can double joint those knees, and I can articulate them feet to make them fit in there. And he came with a wrench, so you can get some really cool poses of him looking like he's working on the Havoc. So, and anyway, this is what I like about modern. This is what I like about vintage. I mean, there's it's one of those things. It's just like, well, I like this better. Well, I like that better, and it's there's some things I like better. There's some things I don't. And but overall, I prefer the modern over the vintage overall. But not to say that I hate the OGs. Yeah, I have no, I don't hate them. I have quite a few of them, and they don't make enough modern stuff, in my opinion. They need to make some more modern vehicles. I know we're in the classified scale now, and I do have some of those classifieds, even though I don't plan on getting everything. There's I just that you run out of room real fast as opposed to these. These are a little smaller, so you have more room for them. But these classifieds they're quite large, and so you don't have much room. You run out of room real fast for them. And then I did get the his tank, and that thing's massive, and I have no idea where I'm going to put it. It just sits on top of my dresser because I have no idea where to put it. And I'm gonna have to build a shelf or find a shelf or something to put it on. I don't know what to do with it quite yet. So we're trying to figure it out. Trying to figure out what to do with that, and then I'm out of room for my classifieds because I had an old DVD shelf I was using to put them on, but I'm completely out of room. And that old DVD shelf used to be able to hold like 15 of these on one shelf, And the new shelf holds like maybe 5 or 6 at most of the classifieds. So, but anyway, that's everybody's complaining is storage. But anyway, this is my take on modern and vintage. And sorry, I know I ramble along a lot, and sometimes I'm boring. I have a hard time staying focused on one subject, and I apologize for that, but that's just how I am. And if anybody's watching this, I appreciate it. Again, this video is more for my son, Mr. S, because he asked me stuff, and this is the best way I can answer him. And so I know some people agree with me on the modern versus classic, and some people prefer the classics. And hey, if you prefer the classic, that's fine. Again, there's a lot of good things about the classics. I mean, a lot of good things about them. And there's a lot of good things about modern too. And I collect more modern because, for one, they're a little easier to come by, unbroken. You can still find them mint in box. And the classics are a little harder, are starting to get harder and harder and harder to find. And but moderns are quite a pretty penny. Like although I got the Wolverine, I got the original Wolverine, and I got a modern Cover Girl in there. That Cover Girl was quite expensive. And but the Wolverine did come with a vintage Cover Girl, and I kept her. I did. So I do plan on getting the Rolling Thunder eventually, and I was gonna put all my classic figs on the Rolling Thunder because I don't think any modern figure would fit on there. I don't think not a one figure would fit on that thing. Not a one modern would fit on there. I think they're all too big for those seats. But I won't know until I get it in my hand. But that was the plan, was to keep all these vintages and for these vehicles that can't hold all this stuff or can't hold these moderns, let's put the vintage on there. Why not? So And then I plan on eventually getting the USS Flag. I plan on eventually getting, hopefully I can find the Defiant Complex. I don't think I'll ever own either one, but but I'm never going to say never. And then just like the tactical battle platform, I want to get that. I want to get, just like I want to get the Cobra Terrordrome. I don't have one of those either, but that's a little easier to come by than the Flag and the Space Shuttle Complex is. But anyway, this is my video. Thanks for watching. Again, sorry about rambling on. It's just how I am. If you skip through the end, or you just kind of skip through and just watched, I appreciate you watching at least. And everybody take care and have a good day. Sorry, there's a cat rear end in the background video. I just kind of realized that. Sorry about that. These cats are very spoiled, and whatever I'm in the middle of, they want to be a part of. That's just how they are. And my neighbor's dogs are out running around my yard right now, so they were both kind of mad. I think one went out finally, so they must have left. And everybody have a good night. Take care. Be safe. Be kind. And yo, Joe.